world of history standard 8. Today I am going to start your chapter 3rd, the Industrial Revolution. Objective. In today's session, we are learn about what do we mean by Industrial Revolution. What were the causes of the Industrial Revolution? What were the major inventions that influenced the Industrial Revolution? What was the impact of Industrial Revolution on the world and India? What do you mean by imperialism and its impact? Let's start with the chapter. With the expansion of trade in 17th and 18th century, the European manufacturer forced to improve their way they were producing the goods. As a result, an economic revolution started in England around 1750 CE, which came to be known as the Industrial Revolution. In this era, machine began to take over some of the work of man for the production of goods. We can also say that the Industrial Revolution was the beginning of machine age, but it does not mean that all that we are not using any types of machine before this, but earlier the machine was very simple. Before the Industrial Revolution, textile and the other product used to be produced in the home of class people with simple tools that made themselves. But after 1750, the simple tools were replaced by more advanced machine. This new invention changed the life of people and they started thinking differently. This invention also gave rise to the factory system. Now, what is factory system? The factory system is a method of manufacturing using machinery and labor. These factories were privately owned by reacting individuals who could afford the high cost of machinery and giving employment to labor. Our next topic is causes of the Industrial Revolution. The English Revolution that took place between 1640 and 1660, it limited the power of the monarchy and took the English Parliament under the control of traders and manufacturers. As a result of this, there was political stability in England which brought prosperity in terms of trade and economic progress in England. As a result of increasing trade, there was an enormous amount of wealth accumulated in England, or we can say increased in England, which provide the necessary capital for establishing the factory. A large part of this was expended on inventing new and improved machine These machine revolutionized the way goods were made and contributed to the Industrial Revolution. The easy availability of raw materials needed for the industries like coal and iron helped in the further growth of industry like iron steel industries in North England. As a result of the establishment of this factory, demand for cheap labor arose, which was fulfilled by the agricultural workers who migrated to the cities from villages. These workers were without job because of the use of machinery in farming for filling the land or for harvesting the crops. Now move to invention that influenced the Industrial Revolution. Here we will talk about the invention done by him and in which year the invention was done and what was the use of that invention. First we will talk about John Kay. He invented the flying shutter in 1733, which helped in speeding up the spinning of yarn. Then the next inventor is James Hargreaves. He invented the spinning jenny in 1764, which speeded up the weaving of the cloth. Next is James Watt, who invented the steam engine in 1769, which enabled the machines to run faster with the help of steam power. Next is Samuel Crompton, who invented the spinning mule in 1779 and it helped in producing thin yarn for finer fabric. Now our next topic is impact of the Industrial Revolution. Under this topic we will discuss about the growth of industrial centers. As I already told you that coal and iron, these are the basic raw material needed to run the factory and industry. The area where these raw material were available in plenty become the main center of industries like mining industry, spinning industries, weaving etc. Our second impact was growth of colonialism. With the establishment of the industry and factory, due to increased production, search for overseas colonies started from where they can buy the raw material at cheaper rate and at the same time could establish market for the sale of finished goods. Now what do you mean by raw material and finished goods? We can see from the picture given in the side. So you can make the difference between the raw material and finished goods. Then the third impact is growth of efficient means of transport. For the growth of industry, more developed and efficient means of transport and communication facilities were needed. With the rise of development of railway better roads and canals in England, so that the raw materials and finished goods could be sent from one place to another place easily. Next impact of the Industrial Revolution was urbanization. Many people and villages shifted to cities in search of better job and facilities, which gave rise to organization. Because of this migration, the cities became overcrowded and diseases and epidemic become common in cities. Then the next impact of Industrial Revolution was capitalism. The Industrial Revolution divided the society into two classes. First, the industrialists who own of factories and industry, and second was the workers who completely depended on the industrialist. This division of society gave rise to new system called capitalism, where all the means of production like land, mines and factories were owned by private individuals. Now, this was the overall impact on the world, and particularly we are learnt about the impact of Industrial Revolution on India. Before the Industrial Revolution, India was one of the most economically advanced country in the world. It was famous all over the world for the textile and handicraft industries. But when India became a colony of Britain in 19th century, its industry was destroyed. Under British rule, India was forced to export agricultural raw material and import factory made goods from Britain. This destroyed the handicraft industry in India. The Industrial Revolution gave rise to a number of social problems also, like child labor and exploitations of labor. One of the famous author, Charles Dickens, wrote about this problem in his two books, The Hard Time and Oliver Twist. At the same time, there was some positive effect of Industrial Revolution in India. For example, electricity was introduced to the country, which improved transport and communication. The building of roads and railway for the help in Indian industry in the 20th century.